Look, top dollar. What's on my day to day? I gotta shake up top, I'm low, I gotta make a play. They rely on me to find a way. I rely on Poppy for finding things. Designer rings, truck routes, I got a lot of game. Home for spit that Sin City cabaret. I got some heroin on the track today. This song for you, my Donny Hathaway. 110 bus, got it looking sweet to sell some crack today. Just trying not to get packed away. I'm staying level-headed, nigga. I ain't bringing out the Mac today. Deuce in her bra. Duke, you wasn't getting that far. Got 10 loose in the back of that car. Like Dippin' Dots, take a scoop out that car. That's 200, we'll be back for the mall. They dope sippin', we the sickest the squads.
Stumbled out drunk from the bar. Running for the trunk of your car, just like the punk that you are. My bitch cute, little deuce tucked in her bra. She didn't make it that far. You didn't make it that far. You ran off but didn't make it that far. Look at the barrel like you ain't got to take it that far. Now everybody in the spot mad at me. Why you niggas mad at me? Should be mad at he that tried to play the dawn like I don't walk with the pump. Looking for a sucker to spray it on, lay it on like my name LeBron. Do the most like I'm Westbrook. Sachi in the Bugatti, bitches say that's my best look. I'm Wolfgang over the stove, and you know a nigga the best cook. In the dope at least a 9, now you getting hooked. Watch them bitches get you lined, then them bitches get you booked. Thinking with your dick, got you thinking what they took. Should've took your time with that bitch, stupid how you look. Trying to get your shit back. Riding around with your click clack. Lamar Odom crying for that bitch back. Dunbar niggas get the big stacks. Bust the Big Macs. Whoa. Stumbled out drunk from the bar. Running for the trunk of your car, just like the punk that you are. My bitch cute, little deuce tucked in her bra. She didn't make it that far. You didn't make it that far. You ran off but didn't make it that far. Look at the barrel like you ain't got to take it that far. Whoa. Chill, nigga. Click, clack, trying to get your bitch back.
The hip-hop writer is a creator, composing understanding words of cultured brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation, simply the almighty leadership of insightful craftwork that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly and uses his ears to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt, executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show in S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living God, stepping in score, Sunyez Allah, a.k.a. Skillustrator Low. And we're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, and every timeless insight will be archived. This particular show is about my element of hip-hop, what I call the writer of art and science on music. The only show in history on the hip-hop writer element that I, a veteran of over 20 plus years, that's a redundancy, over 20 years, helped pioneer. Oh, man. So, as I've been announcing, I have a release date for my book. It is charging me into publishing, it is charging me into writing, and now this will be a force that I just want to work on this way, where I collect deeper ideas, make even more layered creative works, and just throw them out there as these collections and stuff. And this is gonna end this decade of the invisible renaissance for me, diving into a new way of doing it so far in my mind. And the book that's coming out, this particular one, is called The Filtered Real. essays from the Invisible Renaissance. The Invisible Renaissance, if you don't remember me always saying, is what I call this decade of music. The good music, that is. The music that, when we put a particular standard of what makes a great record, not measured by its hotness, its trendness, its hashtagginess, but measured by a standard of skills, a standard of visible natural talents. All of these measures that can be encapsulate an entire field, that we could say this is an artist of soul, something that I think can be measured. So what I did with this Filtered Real book, and Filtered Real is actually a column that I started to write because I love writing about the album, because it allows me to focus on an individual's real thoughts, their thoughts over a period of time, how their talents manifested in this particular work. It's the most intriguing work that we can hold in all of music. The body of work that is an album. And I've always loved that, and I've loved that about hip hop and every other genre since. It isn't just about collecting greatest hits from people. There's something different about the album. And I wanted to write about so many artists. This decade just bubbled with so many artists. So I started to say some of these songs, some of these individual songs, some of the directions of individuals, some people that I feel are gonna be great, I want to talk about very quickly. And just as a journalist, be on the ball. Say, I knew what this person's gonna be, and maybe even if they respect what I'm saying about it, get some insight out of it, and hopefully be inspired as I was to even write it. And the joy of this is that it has worked both ways. I have been 100% inspired by the artists that I write about, and many times it has inspired the artists that I am writing about, and it has a two-way relationship, and that is a real joy beyond just me writing and causing sales. If I'm any good, if my thoughts are any good, if my thoughts are of any worth. And I started write the column, The Filtered real quickly. And of course, by 2017, the amount of records that come out ballooned. It isn't just about chasing singles and the album. I mean, you in 2018, this year, you see as many quality EP releases, short albums. I'm going to say now, because albums are so short nowadays, that the EP for me, excuse me, the EP for me, I judge it anything less than 20, maybe 24 minutes and less, Once you pass the 25-minute range, and definitely past the 30, but if it's in a 25-minute range, 25 to 30 range, and it's not filled with skits, but really thought out songs and not just stretched out by a lot of skits, then I might call it a short LP in my head. I'll let it go as a short LP, because I think the EP is something different. I think the EP doesn't always have a full length. It's really songs of the moments that are just really constructed, and whenever the EP is really good, it is most often because the artist is displaying and and especially now, is in the middle of a grand peak. Like, I'll just throw it out there. Brothers like Zagnif, Nori, they're in such a intense peak. You know what I mean? That the EP is not even their best work. It's light work, but it's so good that it's purchasable. It's immediately repeatable, and it's definitely desiring of being collected. You know what I mean? So, and thankfully, he knows that artists like him know that they're in their prime. So the high standard that they have set for Zagnif, particularly the Opal, he's saving it for that. but he gives us those great EPs, you know, and it's we're all the better for it though. If you could say that the difficulty of life is funneling and filtering all of these enjoyable records, you know what I mean? And you know, if it was trash, it'd be something. But if you really listen, if you use sources as myself as references to begin and others, it's easy to find a lot of stuff and really negate a lot of the pop trash that is extremely repetitive, droning, and disgusting. You know, and as another side note, because I'm in tangent hell right now. The difference between the Dark Ages and the rotten fruit of the Dark Ages, that becomes the veil of the invisible Renaissance this decade, is that the sound of whack rap music has its own repetitive formula to the T. You know, whack sellout music in the 2000s didn't always have a formula. You know what I mean? It didn't always have a way that you make it. And that's not good, you know? Even great music has a formula. I'll give you an example. Marley Marl said one time, and I think I heard him say it 2 times in 2 different interviews, but he did say one. I think it was the Red Bull interview he did. It's not that many Marley Marl interviews of, you know, recent note in this decade. Marley Marl said that one of the keys is to have particular aspects of your production that are very repetitive, like they continue to show up, because these become the addictive aspects that keep you saying, I love Marley Marl music, you know what I mean? And, you know, with Marley Marl, you could tell, you know, it's with the snap of the drum, you know, with him, it's a whole bunch of stuff, you know. I don't want to go into all that, but if you just listen to Big Daddy Kane's early albums, you know, Biz Marquee's Going Off, by the way, my favorite Marley Marl production, you know, that album. And then you listen to the stuff a little bit later, like LL Cool J, the stuff he did with LL Cool J, it still has a feel of a particular type of drum snap. The drums are highlighted. There's a certain boom, you know what I mean? And you know, with the pop music, this is the feel. This is the feel that they go for. And when you have a formula like reggaeton, where it's just a dembow beat mutilated and raped to high hell forever, or you have trap music that has a weakened drum pattern that it only is really there unless the drum patterns are weak. You know what I mean? So, and the hi-hats, you know, grows, they're out of step, all of that kind of stuff. That's the only way that you know that you have that type of track, and it becomes something of addictive measure, you know what I mean? And then now all you have to worry about is the packaging of the artist, you know what I mean? Like, you know, let's be real. Like, what's the difference between Doja Cat and Nicki Minaj and any other, you know, chick that's making music like that? You know, half naked. It's a different naked, you know, new naked. But it's really the same thing, same formulas. This is real important to the destruction of music when you have a formula. Salsa has had that happen too. In the 70s, there's no improvisation mixed in. The jazz element is drawn out. And for other reasons, you know, you can studio every part in. So, you know, congas, bongos, everything could be played by one guy. But they have a formulaic sound. So even like stuff that you think is poppier, like a Eddie Santiago, or as opposed to what you think is good commercial stuff like Mark Anthony, they all have a similar sound. They're not really doing anything. Like, compare Mark Anthony's last 4 albums. They sound all the same, exactly the same. You know what I mean? The only difference now is that Mark Anthony all of a sudden has a million tattoos, which is awkward. You know what I mean? I've been waiting for a segue to note that awkwardness of tattoos. You know what I mean? He looks like he's about to be in the NBA. You know what I mean? A league that I'm going to be in, though, the special 5-foot league. You know what I mean? 5'7" and under league. I'll be a dominant force in that league. You know what I mean? But or at least a coach, because I understand the players of that height. You know what I mean? But the thing is, it all goes back to my original point of how I came with the filtered reel and all this kind of stuff with the dark ages and all that. But I started to call it the filtered reel, and I couldn't keep up with all the great works. And in this book, Filtered Reel, I use the best. I'm literally using the massive amount of work of 2018 to springboard me into a lot of builds and essays about the entire decade, you know. And there's no way near, you can't read this and say it covers the entire decade. It's more of a spotlight. But if this book will allow you to go back and reach into everything and every single thread that you need to pull, every single great work that is out there, you'll get to it, you know what I mean, with this book, you know. And it's not the last collection of filtered reels, because I'll be writing stuff for a long time. But it's going to be out on paperback, you know, October 11th, and ebook as well if you're into ebooks. But a lot of my hip-hop brothers, they don't know what an ebook is. Like, how archaic is that? You know what I mean? Are they still running cassettes? You know what I mean? Like, but I definitely think this will be a really fun book for a lot of people. And it'll have not only that science on music, but it'll also have that art on art I'm always talking about. And I always like to do art and art recital before we get to the main the main points of this show and what I'm naming this show after. But this art and art recital is called Too Long, you know, and it's a piece that, you know, you know, if I had a Sam Cooke voice, I'd probably sing this joint right here, but I don't, you know what I mean? And I was thinking about Sam Cooke when I wrote this, just his cadence and the way he does stuff. But it goes like this. I long to author love songs that sing to my at-risk genre, that one that I loved and left me so lonely. Sonnets and poems to be sung at the stroke of science, all in the key of culture. Oh, how I live in this quiet storm so loudly. Fighting the sleep in my dreams made true inside this nightmare scenery that has its own society, its own rules, its own media, its own schooling, the Hot 97 School of Charts, the 105.1 Rec Center for Pop Play, the Diddy University of Crossover, the J. Bay Ivy League schools for the rare who use it all for the wrong. My hip-hop of sounds, moves, and sights uncompromised. The worst of the at-risk genres. It grew up and ran the streets, party to party, basement through cellar, park to park. It played with all of us who lived on the block. Those whose careers were on the careening corners or fighting to be made in the classrooms. So risky in this nightmare matrix, it took the criminals from the minimal. Also drummed up this little ghetto brown boy to let his frown toil in the bravado of an art's supremacy. So I tell you, let me help my brother, my at-risk genre friend who ain't heavy, but whose legs aren't sound, whose arms won't break, and whose words can't convey bonds with these glittery mic stands. Let this at-risk genre meet the worst of my at-risk youth again. Drop out of school, skip college, reject the scholarships, and be born again in the streets. That they revel and rebel together and revolt a new way. Give that at-risk genre hip-hop a knowledge of self. A one victory worded in the greatest phonics. Yeah. So anyway, this episode's main segment, I'm gonna start it now. I would like, I hope. What the hell? I'm looking at my producer. I can't bullshit him. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go all intense on this one because this is where I go in with this. You know what I mean? I gotta do it. I gotta do it. You know what I mean? And look, my fucking phone is busting up here too, but it can't even hold what I'm about to do here. But this is the For the Revolutionary segment, you know? And it's really about this whole NFL thing with Jay-Z and Kaepernick and all that, the Eric Reed and all that. We had to talk about it, you know what I mean? I want to preface everything I'm going to say with a little quote, though, from one of my favorite movies of all time, though. So let me get the face right. Let me snicker a little bit. Let me look down at all yous that finally realizing that Jay-Z has a little sellout in him and say, hey, welcome to the party, pal. Listen, I have been railing, I have been writing, I would say about 1 out of every 100 pieces I've written have had to comment on someone that is doing something so pop that it is grossing out my entire life. And Jay-Z holds some of those articles, you know? And I think here's what we don't understand though, right? The things I've been saying about Jay-Z, they come to fruition with what he's been doing now, working with the NFL, this partnership with the NFL, every single thing. And so, you know, I'm telling you, my producer has allowed me to gloat for a little while. You know what I mean? I get to gloat and look down at all of you. Because while you wait for that mystery God to come and save you again, it is embarrassing me. It is embarrassing me. You know? They're waiting for the Che Guevara with bling on to start the revolution, and it's not coming. I'm going to tell you who he is. If he really wrote that lyric good, he's not Che Guevara with bling on. He's Black Clinton. Jay-Z is Black Clinton. He makes a lot of moves. Some of them sound good. Some of them, they seem well-meaning, but they're really liberalism. They're intense liberalism. I have billion. Let me pay off some of these people's debts here. You know, let me get some of these kids out on bail, you know. Let me put the money behind producing this documentary. These are all good things, but this is liberalism. But I keep telling you, and I've said this on many shows, we've got to always look at history with the Andrew Carnegie lenses. Andrew Carnegie was a SOB. That was one son of a bitch. He was a robber baron, though. You know what I mean? When you look up robber baron, they're going to say, refer to Andrew Carnegie. You know what I mean? They destroyed the world. You know, they dominated the world with the steel that they stole and plummeted. And at the end of his life, he turned into philanthropic measures. And if it wasn't for him, though, we wouldn't have the New York City libraries. Now, think about that for a minute. That says a lot, though, about the world that we live in, that a rich guy that didn't give a damn, who just wants to make himself look good at the end of his life, throws some bones and says, hey, let's give these poor people libraries. Let's give the peoples. And by poor people, I mean every last one of yous. I mean every goddamn last one of yous. Okay, if you don't have a 7-figure salary, you're one of these people I'm talking about. Peons. You know what I mean? So when we look at things like this, here's what the commentators have lost out. The sports commentators have no idea about how to judge Jay-Z's musical career. The music commentators, though, are all scared. They're all scared. There's two people that people are scared to insult. You won't find rappers speaking bad about them no matter what. They'll leave it be, or they'll say something good. I feel better when they just let it be. But the two guys are Jay-Z and Eminem. The biggest sellers of all time, and what people forget, though, is that they've also broached and breached the conflict of interest by also garnering media, right? And having a lot of power to blackball in the industry, right? You could believe it or not, but just go to Choke No Jokes page and see how he's always complaining about being blackballed. You know, sometimes people think that blackballing is a thing that you have to do actively, like it takes a lot of work to blackball. Not when you're that rich, though. You just say, nah, don't put that nigga on. Everybody remember it. They remember. You know what I mean? They will remember that, you know? And we're in the next generation of black-brown political power players being decided. So it's this generation here, the generation that is reaching into their 40s, that is now becoming the power structure for the new power structure for the guidance of black and brown people. And a lot of those people that are coming from hip-hop are going to come now. And I've been saying that Jay-Z's moves have been trying to put him in a political arena. I'm not saying, if you think simply and babyish, you're thinking I'm saying Jay-Z for president. What I'm really saying is political power. The ability to wield power. After you've bought everything, this is what you buy. You buy political power. You know? And the reason that a hustler, right? Except for my producer and my other brother in the room with the interesting t-shirt. I learned a lot about t-shirts today, but that's my producer's a hustler. You learn shit, you know what I mean? I could size up niggas with a t-shirt too, you know what I mean? I just looking for, like, you know, where to jam them right between the chest, but now I know how to judge their fashion, you know, like, you know, their skill level on the t-shirt game, you know what I mean? But it's all peace though. It's all peace. It's what it says that's most important. Right? It's what it says. But the thing about it, right, is that the thing about when we talk about political power, when we talk about this idea, is that our generation, and it merged into the 2000s, made the hustler the entire guiding force of advice, of insight as to how one will survive capitalism. So it turns into a thing where, and I'm just using key flashpoints though, they're not going to be the most significant, but just imagery for us to follow. Rakim's paid in full. Eric B. and Rakim's paid in full. Rakim's on the cover with the jewels and everything. Rakim is dominating. That's why he could buy all these things. He dominates in all levels. And so he's paid in full. You see? So the consequence, the effect of him being so dope and dominating in all fields and making his own lifestyle of power and freedom. Because that was the big thing. The big thing was to have the freedom to wield power over yourself. Rakim had that. And as we went along, it went into other things. You know what I mean? It went into so many other things that it became one where the moves that make one a billionaire are automatically seen righteous if the said billionaire is of the genre that we were supporting. Now listen, the reason that the sports commentators or commentators that don't know about music is that when they deal with the music, they're dealing with the consistency of success and not really the consistency of the sound as it develops. When I talk about Jay-Z, I'm talking about someone that has used his expert talent to be the greatest pop MC I've ever heard. To dilute the music, right? So that way a diluted version of the A pop side and B hardcore side is now can be A pop album, B loose change hardcore extra songs. I like that Jay-Z song. It's hard. Where is it? Now you got to find it. It's an internet joint. I don't know where it is. You know what I mean? Oh, there's only one of those like that. This is the influence of not just Jay-Z, but he is the greatest capitalizer of it. This means something. This means something is that we are talking about, what are we talking about here when we go back? Now I'll rewind to restate people that don't give a damn about the NFL. Colin Kaepernick was kneeling to address police brutality. He has been exiled out of the league, and they clearly have colluded with him. Okay? The entire movement was led by Kaepernick, and to deal with the NFL, to say, like, listen, if the NFL wants to get their act together and deal with us, though, what would you say? The first thing you would say was, fix what you did wrong first. Give Kaepernick his job back and allow him to use this as a vehicle. And then you go into other talk and enhance the presentation of his issue, police brutality, as a major issue that NFL will deal with, because the NFL is affected. In the NFL players, 80% African American, are immediately affected by this every single waking minute. This is what we're talking about. So I'm going to go through some points. They might not be, all in a row. The first thing that people say, though, and they usually use this with Jay-Z, it doesn't matter if he popped out the sign, it was hot. I gave you 5 hot summers, da-da-da. I gave you 10 hot summers. But they never talk about the payola that flunk, that's good, that's good. That's good, Sunyas, that's good. Flunk flex, it's hard to say, flunk flex. I wrote an expose about flunk flex taking payola. But we keep forgetting, though, when you take it, you're receiving it from somebody. And if you want to find out who you received the payola from, then you go look at whose record is being played in the station. If they were playing Boot Camp Click, then I say, wow, Buckshot is paying off Hot 97. God damn you, Buckshot. But every hot summer, I didn't hear Wu-Tang. I didn't hear Sons of Man on the radio. I didn't hear Killer Army. I was hearing some Jay-Z song. Some Jay-Z song with the diluted hardcore producers of the moment that ushered in the dark ages, either Neptunes or Swizz Beats. It's hardcore, but let's put some singing on it. Let's pop out the treble so the boom is now a whole lot of explosions and stuff. You know what I mean? There won't be any bass lines, though, if they inflict. There's no filtering. There's no dirt. There's no crowding of the room, though. There's no anger because we're balling. We've made it. While Ghostface is changing lyricism, we're all getting silly to Eminem. Our women are dyeing their hairs blonde, looking like cheap lemon pops. And then what do we have here? We got the main excuse that's being used. I just gave you one thing, though. I didn't go into a lot of the other stuff because I'm going to sprinkle you. E40 sprinkle you. Right? That chef, who's that chef? I'm sprinkling the shit that give you reasonable doubt. Because I don't have, it'll be told in my lifetime, and I don't have all of my lifetime to do all this. You know? I'm giving you the blueprint for devilishment here. The first thing that we're talking about is they always advocate, he's just getting the bag. He's just getting the bag. Kaepernick got the bag because he settled. And I thought that too for a while. I still stand by my idea that I think Kaepernick is a revolutionary mindset he intended to have one. But really had a rebel's education as far as that goes. And he was thrust into stuff without knowing. You know what I'm saying? So when he had the Fidel shirt, people could bomb him about Fidel, but he doesn't know enough about Fidel to salute that man. So the Cubans could get at him, though. You know? You got Stephen A. Smith hating on him like he deserved hell for the Fidel shirt, like Fidel's automatic bastard. Fidel didn't blow up the airplane out in Miami, though, that was going back to Cuba, filled with that Cuban youth soccer team. That was the anti-Fidel, anti-Castro contingent that was blowing up their own people. The terrorists that bombed Cubans in Cuba just for the hell of it to make a statement, they live in Miami. When Latin music goes to die like an elephant, it goes into Cuba and becomes cha-cha-cha. That's another side note. There's a great article on abovethelaw.com called entitled Colin Kaepernick Settled His Grievance, Jay-Z is Just Taking the Money. People who are comparing Kaepernick's settlement to Jay-Z's business deal need to step all the way back. That is the longest headline and byline and byline I've read in a long time. But I want to read you a portion of this, though. Articles by Ellie Mistel. You can look it up. Simply put, I'm quoting, simply put, the colloquial understanding of quote-unquote settlement has no place in the law. Many aspects of the legal system are designed specifically to encourage legal settlements. A legal settlement is not an admission of defeat. It's not selling out. You saw how real I am? I can't even say selling out. I stumble at it. I keep it real. It's too real. Back to the quoting. It's just the outcome the system is designed to produce, and of all those designs, none work as well as forced arbitration. Forced arbitration is entirely about making people settle their grievances before an arbitrator makes an all-or-nothing ruling. It's that forced arbitration process that Kaepernick's collusion grievance was subjected to. Let's start with the obvious. Kaepernick accused all 32 NFL teams of colluding to keep him out of the league. However, in order to sue the NFL for collusion, the only thing Kaepernick could legally do was file a grievance and subject himself to arbitration. That was the only process available. Now listen why. Because that's what is laid out in the collective bargaining agreement between the NFL and the NFL Players Association. A football player cannot just sue the NFL in civil court without first going through this process. That's just how the law works. Kaepernick didn't give up his right to sue the NFL. The Players Association gave up that right for him. There was nothing else he could reasonably do about it. End quote. So essentially, Cape appeared to be proving collusion in some respects, so the NFL used the rules in their favor and triggered settlement mode. That's really the cusp of this article. You know what I mean? So I don't really want to hear the ideas that, oh, well, Cape needs to speak out and stuff like that. Well, he needs to do a Joe Budden podcast. He needs to go talk to Charlemagne, the not God. He needs to talk to somebody to explain that he clearly deserves to have a job when it's all clear cut. So Eric Reed, another football player who kneeled along and continues to advocate with Kaepernick, he still plays in the NFL, so he's not allowed to play in the NFL if he criticizes them. That doesn't make any sense. You guys criticize the work. If you got enough balls, you criticize where you work. Oh yeah, you don't. Man tells you to do something, you do it, right? I said, do it immediately, sir. I'll get those files. You can't be telling nothing wrong about the boss, because then they'll take you off the job. These men decided not to do that. They wasn't Yasser bossing, and they decided to do that. Revolutionary, rebellious. What is revolutionary is the way that he got the word out. What is also respectful is the programs that he's had, and there's a lot of work. I've heard criticism, things that I don't like. It isn't precision, but it's a lot of work. And I'm going to tell you this about what this is. This is not for Jay-Z, this is absolutely not a mere business move to make money, nor is it one to put artists on. The artists in Rock Nation, I'm gonna give you my personal thought. They're most likely gonna suck. They're most likely gonna be artists that have to sell in the gazillions, though, so they're most likely gonna be pop. They don't need that much help to get in the Super Bowl halftime show. You know? What type of Super Bowl halftime show do we need Jay-Z to pioneer? That's going to be about social justice issues. People that watch football are nearly all shown to be racist. The vast market, or refuse to hear race issues, even though all of the people bringing it to you, this NFL entertainment, are all black. Majority, vast majority, not just majority, but vast. So then we have a halftime show that's going to keep it real. You know, that's what we need. You know what? End of show. Cut the tape. End of show. That's all we need. I was wrong. We just needed a halftime show that kept it real. You know what I mean? People want to see half-naked pop song, half-naked artists singing pop songs at Super Bowl halftime. And your wife already did that. She put the black fist up at the end, and that's it. You scantily clad an image of the Black Panther, and you went up there and you sold out the Black Panther as as sexy, freedom-seeking whores, and they put up their black fist, and they twerked their black ass, and they got off the stage. How much more revolutionary you want? What can we do after that? You can't beat that. You know what I mean? It's one of the wackest shows in the history of man. The Super Bowl halftime show is probably the most overhyped show in the universe. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, who cares about making that better? But let's talk about politics, because this is a political move. It's not a money-making move. Don't salute Jay-Z for getting the bag. It's not about getting the bag. This is about political power. This is about, and it's lauded as being another seat at the table. But I'm telling you though, if this is Jay-Z, this isn't Chuck D. Chuck D takes a seat at this table. I say, wow, that's interesting. I wonder what's going to happen with that. Let me wait and see. It's Jay-Z. I'm not going to wait. For that which that's shown proven has not existed at all. Every time we wait for Jay-Z to exist, we get another bad record. We get more pop and we get more Scrooge McDuck. Albums where he dives into his money pit, talks about his money, and then, you know, end album. I'm inspired. He talked about how much money he had. I am inspired. He talked about how much money he has. I am inspired again. He talked about how he doesn't work with the NFL, and now he works with the NFL. Now, wait a minute. He said something and it didn't. You weren't listening. Jay-Z says a lot of shit that he doesn't mean. He said he was the true and living God, and then he looked up at the sky at the end of the verse. He said he didn't owe anything to Dame Dash because they didn't sign a contract. So his word isn't bond. That's what he said on Blueprint 3, his word isn't bond. When he was Def Jam executive, LL Cool J, The Roots, they were all subliminally complaining about how their label sucks. And how they thought it was going to do something for them on their best record. And it didn't do anything. Ghostface didn't do anything. Holla, it didn't do anything. Gems. Classics didn't do anything. Who was at the helm? LL Cool J told you. So here's the thing. If you listen to that press release, which Rock Nation now has a YouTube channel and put that as their first video, they talk about, Jay-Z says, hey, we already know about the issue. I think everyone knows what the issue is, and we're done with that. Everybody knows about the issue. We haven't accepted the issue, so there's not even enough talk about that. He said, everybody knows the issue. You're done, Cape. You're done. You know what I mean? The truth is, in this, whatever Kaepernick has stumbled as a spokesperson, he has said more value to me than what Jay-Z has said. So let's not act like Jay-Z is this incredible spokesperson. Like he, everything he says, is gold. You know what I mean? Wow, that was, like it's quotables every time. I don't know what we're listening to, but in that whole press conference, there was a political point that we may have missed. It's the idea of social justice versus the particular issue, police brutality. Social justice is a catchphrase. It is a hashtag. It is when white hipsters do stuff in the community for themselves and they call it social justice because they don't want to say we're oppressed and these are issues of the oppressed. Social justice issues could be anything. They could be anything. It's cold in the studio. Me and my producer, we're both black men of varying shades. This is a social justice issue. Because if I don't warm up, I don't give you the show you need. You don't get the insight that you need, though. And some of the society crumbles as a result. My PayPal is sunias97@gmail.com, though. Give to this social justice issue as soon as you can. The social justice issue. I found it very tellingly in the mass awkwardness, how they never noted police brutality. How he tried to diminish that, listen, Cape did all the kneeling, we know about police brutality, we don't know about police brutality. I wanted to hear Roger say that. I wanted to hear the NFL say that. We're working with Jay-Z to deal with police brutality, okay? We're gonna wear bloody pins on the 5th week of the year in the NFL. I'm just making stuff up. Right? We're going to wear red pins to symbolize the blood of the black men, boys, black women, black girls that keep getting shot and killed by police. How about that? Breast cancer awareness, week 6. Week 7. We got stop shooting at black men that ain't doing anything week. Police brutality week, right? Police rehab. What do you want to call it? What do you want to call it though? Right? Pig awareness week. I don't know what you're going to call it. Call it something, right? This is the same as when we will see the debates for the next president, and we'll see all these jokers, right? Try to take shots at the super joker, Trump, and take him out. And they never will mention poverty. They never will mention poor people. It'll always be the middle class, the middle class. They've done studies on this, on how little they say the word poverty. You know, that's why people like Bernie, because sometimes that word slips out of his mouth. Poverty. I'm like, oh shit, wow, Bernie, yo, he's the man. You know, he actually mentioned poor people. You know, even though Bernie, though, he stumbles. You know, like, oh my goodness, he stumbles, you know, when they talk about reparations, though, you know. You know, he might as well talk about an Engelbert Humperdinck album when they ask him that stuff. He's not even on the topic, you know what I mean? Ask him about reparations, he starts talking about, you know, we're going to make sure that these chairs that we got are not made in China. You're like, what? You know, like, you know, total different wavelength. But the issue at hand was police brutality. That was the start. That's the major social justice issue. Because it changes the way our people live our lives. And it affects the psyche in today's social media world when the young and even people my age have to consistently see these horrific videos of things that we know happen, and we have to consistently see them. You know what I mean? Go back. White man who invented scalping used to scalp Indians, and they would collect the scalped heads, and these sheets of skin would allow them to trade in. The more sheets of skin, the more money, the more people. And they were promoted by the society to, hey, take some time with your kid, show him how to shoot, and go down there and rustle up some Indians. Right? Get some red men. So when we look at things like that, we need, you know, the fear that is produced in a society by the enforcers of so-called safety is a very telling thing. This is what Caper's doing, though, and social justice is not the word. The word is police brutality, a particular issue. Moving on from that. They asked him about Kaepernick. He says he has to bring himself in. What a way to deflect. You know what I mean? What a way to deflect. You're in that position because of this whole thing. The honorable thing to do is to go tell Cape what you're doing and go do it. But he's not, though. He's not. Brian Michael Cox blew up your spot. I don't know if my producer knows this, but Brian Michael Cox, the songwriter, said that Jermaine Dupri was given this deal by the NFL. And Jay-Z told Jermaine Dupri, Don't go with them. Don't do it. And he didn't do it. Now you got Brian Michael Cox sounding like Ghostface. You know what I mean? Niggas bit off a Capes deal. You know what I mean? Bit off the deal. Railroaded him. Bamboozled. And we're all better for it because the halftime show is going to be better now with Jay-Z at the helm and Rock Nation and not Jermaine Dupri and whatever his pop litany is called. Right? I'm going to tell you something. If you want to correct what the NFL is doing wrong, they have to start with their most egregious action, and that is blackballing Kaepernick. Because then now the people that you're dealing with, though, they haven't shown and proved that they are being sincere. You know what I mean? And if behind doors you said, we're not giving you Kaepernick, but we'll give you anything else in the world, it still doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter because to make a deal and work, you have to undercut another brother. That's what's being said here. And if Jay-Z didn't need the NFL, then he needed to say, I won't do it until you get this deal on the table like that. But he didn't do that. He's not doing that. And people now excited because he might be a part owner, so it's really showing that the bag is big. He already was a part owner. There's history behind this. You don't get excited about the possible integrity of things and the possible fruits of something if you've already seen rotten fruit. With the same exact situation, he had some part vested interest, not even substantial, vested interest in the Brooklyn Nets. He helped give him the most wackest logo ever. Draw a black ball and draw a B in it. No work put it in at all. It's not here than there. But he put his cosign being in that slight 0.1% vested ownership and them asking him, because you can look it up, justified the continued pursuit and success of the gentrification of that entire Brooklyn area. And it continues to impact, because when you really do your research, the money that is pulled in, though, does not make up for the people that lost where they lived, they lost their homes, they were uprooted. You know, this was literally like a typical Olympics, you know, in any country where you just get rid of everybody in the surrounding area so it can look good for everybody that comes there, you know. And you furthered the gentrification. You know, you gave a major place in Brooklyn. So again, we get into this image, though. This image of Jay-Z as a champion and a consistent champion of the people is one of the constant misnomers, and I'm telling you, it is liberalism. You see the billionaires like Kraft and others that are also part, and then Meek Mill, who he put under his sword. I mean, Meek Mill, who got out on bail, you know what I mean? They're part of the criminal justice reform. A lot of these issues are important. Criminal justice reform is important. But again, it constantly needs to be defined and expressed what that exactly means. Or else we run into Bill Clintonia, a Clintonian speak, you know? Where it seems like you're down with black folk, but you're really not. You know what I mean? And what we see from Jay-Z is really his best moves politically for the people are really just liberal moves. And this was above his integrity level. Not after what he did with the Nets. You know, we always talk about certain things, but the imagery, the ideas, and choosing the bag over the people consider. Remember Barney's? Kid wanted to go buy a belt or something and wanted to blow all his money on a dumbass belt, right? What was it? Ferragamo? He's getting the Ferragamo belt. And they said, hey, son, you can't afford this. It was Pretty Man. Remember Pretty Woman? Boy, kid went in there and said, I got money to spend here. And they said, they kicked him out. And instead of Jay-Z being Richard Gere and getting him in the store, making him apologize, he says, listen, unfortunate incident. They've apologized, and, you know, I'm still going to work with them because it's a bigger picture. What's the bigger picture? That was about half a decade ago at least. Where's the fruit of that? We're always waiting. We're always waiting for the mystery God that is Jay-Z to bring the revolution. I'm not waiting. Jay-Z's definition of protest, then action, is not the revolution. The disunity of him martyring and deading the necessity of kneeling. And what is kneeling? In this case, people go, no, I don't bend my knee for no one. Stop it. Don't equate the two. It's totally different. In this case, it's visual acts on a weekly football stage that remind everyone watching of the hells that the majority of the players and the communities that they come from go through. Those players are wearing helmets. A lot of people don't know who they are. They might go outside and deal with that exactly the minute that they go outside. You never know. And that's the reality. Let alone their families. What Jay-Z's defining is black Clintonianism. I gotta fix that up, right? Black Clintonian. It's a black Clintonian. Maybe I should, he's black Clintonian because there might be more. You know what I mean? These brothers out there. There might be more. So, right? And some people said, that I respect, they said, I'd rather have, if I had to choose, they said they would rather have Jay as a football team owner over Cape the player. So they look at now as Kaepernick as a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. Mind you, even Muhammad Ali got to come back into the ring. Muhammad Ali got to come back into the ring. But Cape is good. Let's just keep him slaughtered out there. The truth is, I completely disagree with Jay-Z being an owner versus Cape the player, because you know why? The league that is most liberal, because none of them are revolutionary, the league that is most liberal and allowing to black men's at least thoughts and ideas and at least the daily concerns of civility and humanity are in the NBA. And who's running the NBA? Who's really guiding and spearheading the thoughts and ideas of the NBA and really being a champion on that level? It's LeBron James, a player. We're not talking about his 3-6 finals records now. You know what I mean? We're not talking about that he's never will be the GOAT. We're talking about the power that he has developed as a player and fulfilling that equality to all the other players and giving them a chance at the bargaining table where they could go to the teams that they want. So it's not given that a player with a tiny vested interest has more power than a player that is world renowned. You're fooling yourself. And I agreed with Eric Dickerson on Skip and Shannon, Undisputed today. And he basically said he'll never crack the old boy network, because once he leaves the room, they'll say what they really meant to say and do. That's enough right there. But I'll leave it right there. These points are stuff to look at, though, in this. Look at that. I was going to talk about music, though, and I just ran the whole time. I had to do it, though. But real quick, there are so many records out there. You know what I mean? I'm just going to say this real quick, because we're talking about, like, insight, black power, revolution. Razkaz's Soul on Ice 2 is a lyrical masterpiece. It isn't released yet, but I've heard it. And White Power is the best song I've heard this year. It's amazing. I just had to say that. You know what I mean? You know, Razkaz never disappoints, though, and he picks beats better than ever. You know what I mean? It just, I'll be talking about that record a lot. You know what I mean? But until next time, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. I'm your host, Sunya Zala, a.k.a. S.STREET Low. And as always, the Power Right Show is a never respect fake broadcast. Peace.